Should you meet women online or in real life? If you're a man with a busy career or your own business and you want to find the right girlfriend, life partner, or wife, this video is for you. I was talking to a client and he told me that he was using online dating apps against my recommendation for an hour to 2 hours a day, and he was getting 4 to 5 dates per week. Now, that's obviously an obnoxious amount, and it's not necessary to have that many to find the right one. And I told him, you should really only be using online dating apps for 15, 20 minutes a day. And we did find out that his dopaminergic system got a little bit depleted after a while when he came to me and he said, David, I'm feeling a little bit down. I'm having all these dates, but I don't know. I don't feel the way I usually do. And since I've done this now with men from 30 countries from all around the world, I'm pretty good at detecting patterns. Even though you are special with the gifts that you have to share, you're not special with your problems. The problems are always the same. Now, your individual challenges that you've experienced through life, they need to be honored, and they are individual. But the patterns of the problems you're currently experiencing that are stopping you from getting more women, keeping them interested in you, and finding the right girlfriend, life partner, or wife, they're always the same. So I immediately asked him, well, how much time are you spending on dating apps? And then we found out it was an hour or two a day, 5 days a week-ish, which is absolutely too much. Because you have to understand that the online dating apps are a little bit like soft pornography. You get these dopamine hits when you see the little red notification button on Hinge, a little like, They're set up in a way to get you addicted, like any other social media platform. And the only thing you should ever get addicted to on social media is my content, jokes aside. You should use it in a very wise way. But nonetheless, he was able to get a significant amount of dates, and he found his current girlfriend also from online dating apps. I would say a little more than half of my clients find their partners, wives, girlfriends from online dating apps. So they're absolutely amazing. But the question is, what is better? And it's not so much which is better. They just have different advantages and disadvantages. So online dating is absolutely efficient if you use it well, because basically you learn to touch your phone and a beautiful woman appears. Online dating, if you in the US, for example, Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, Match.com, Facebook dating, plus a couple of niche ones, is super effective. It is really a tool that most of our ancestors wish they could have had. Just understand, you have a phone where you can type things into, you can touch a screen, and then there is a woman somewhere in your proximity who will be happy to meet up with you. Think about how crazy that is. The opportunity that you have to connect with women through a phone. It's absolutely unfathomable. Your grandfather would have killed to have that opportunity. Now you might say, well, only the best looking men succeed on online dating apps. Nonsense. Absolutely not true. Yes, if you're in the bottom 5% of objective attractiveness, you might not get any results. That's fine. In which case, not all hope is lost. You can just meet some amazing women in real life, and that's fine. But most men, most of my clients are pretty average looking people. Some are a little bit better looking, some are a little bit less good looking. But almost all of them can get great results. We help them set up their profiles in an effective way because you haven't been taught how to present yourself in the most effective fashion. Even if you're doing well in your career, even if you run a business, you know how to present yourself in a professional context, but not in a way that the right type of women will find you attractive. And you have to keep in mind, there's a couple of different types of pictures that you'll have to include on online dating apps. There's lifestyle, status, social proof, and professional pictures. And just one blind spot in one out of the 5 pictures, for example, or one of the 6 pictures on Tinder, can already ruin your results. Have you ever swiped through dating apps and you're on a profile of a lady and you see one thing on the last picture that you don't like, even though everything seemed fine on the 4 pictures before that, and immediately you swipe left? Maybe she's nutritionally less disciplined and you're only discover that on the last picture. Maybe she looks weird in one angle. Maybe something. Maybe she has a picture with a dude on it. one thing that turns you off, and immediately you swipe left. Well, think about what it's like for women who have even more abundance. Don't hate the game, hate the player. Not hate the player, obviously, but understand the game works. Algorithms aren't rigged against you. You just have blind spots in the way you present yourself. And you know that in a professional environment as well. If you've ever hired people, for example, if you're a manager or if you run a business, there's people who go through various different interview processes, and some applicants, they make evident mistakes either in their CV or in the application process or in the interview process. They didn't prepare, they don't know how to, whatever the case may be. There's evident blind spots that you've been able to determine that they're not aware of. And those those blind spots stop them from getting the job they want, from being hired into your team. If you work in the medical sector, for example, you have a checklist of things that you go through with people to determine various different diseases. Well, could it be cancer? Could it be this? Could it be that? If you're a dentist, and usually you have a checklist, you have a process that you follow to determine what the actual issue is. And most people, since they're not specialists, they don't know what the indicators are. They might say, oh, well, my tooth hurts. This tooth hurts, and this tooth hurts, and this tooth hurts. Now, if you're an experienced dentist, you're going to say the probability that you have cavities or something, cavities that are so severe that you have actual severe pain in 3 different types of teeth, the probability of that is so low that it's most likely, if you have pain in a variety of different places, it could either be gum disease or it could be the fact that you're grinding your teeth. Now, me, because this is an actual conversation that I've had with a dentist of mine a couple of months ago, and I said to him, I was like, oh, my teeth hurt. I was like, yeah, you're grinding your teeth. I was like, oh, it's the clients. The stress from the clients. I don't know, just happened to be grinding my teeth at night. And he told me that, and I said, oh, this is actually very relieving. It's very nice to hear that not 3 different types of teeth are messed up. And it's actually all fine. You just are grinding your teeth. So he prescribed a mouth guard, which I haven't used, which probably I should be using. So I wonder what it's costing me that I'm not using that. So online dating is an amazing place to meet women. You just have to weed out your blind spots. And you can apply for a free initial consultation call if you want my help with that, or you can try to figure it out yourself. It might take you 5 to 10 years. You can figure it out, absolutely. It's just going to take a whole lot more time and effort. But let's look at real life. What's the advantage of being able to meet women in real life? I believe that if you want to be able to call yourself a man, you have to have the ability to introduce yourself to an attractive woman wherever you are. How on earth can you call yourself a man if you haven't developed the skill set? And yes, it's a skill set. It's not just balls or courage or swag that you're born with. It's a skill set. If you haven't developed that to be able to meet someone that you're potentially attracted to, how can you call yourself a man? And I wasn't able to do it either. I made every excuse in the book. I saw an attractive lady, and I thought to myself, she probably has a boyfriend. She looks too serious. She's probably not in the mood. I wouldn't want to interrupt her. She's too far away already. What are people going to think of me? I could if I really wanted to. Nonsense. Do it. You tell yourself you could, do it right now. You think you could? Then do it. It's would versus could. Oh, I could if I really want to do. Yeah, but will you do it? Are you actually going to introduce yourself? And if not, it's because the approach anxiety is so high. One, you don't know how to do it, and you haven't overcome the approach anxiety. You haven't dedicated yourself to a process of getting rid of it. And you can't get rid of approach anxiety entirely, but if it's currently a 9 out of 10 for you, you can decrease to a level where it's a 1 or 2 out of 10, where you might feel still a degree of nervousness, but it won't stop you from taking constructive, effective, and respectful action. Being able to meet women in real life, in a shopping mall, Whole Foods, Starbucks, your gym, in a bar, in a pub, wherever, in an airport, wherever you happen to be, is a superpower. It's an evolutionary cheat code. Please understand that. It is an evolutionary cheat code. It's not supposed to be so easy. It's not supposed to be so easy to get dates. If you've only had 3 to 6 dates, 3 to 9 dates in the last 6 months, a date a month, something like that, maybe even less, then how on earth are you supposed to have enough options to make an educated choice as to who you actually want to be with for a relationship. You need to be able to create options for yourself. And people like me and my clients, we can just walk out of the door, introduce yourself. Obviously, rejection is part of the game. Everybody gets rejected. I get rejected a lot less than most people, but of course I still get rejected. Everybody gets rejected. But you can do that too. You can just learn to walk outside of the street anywhere. It doesn't mean you have to be doing hundreds and hundreds of approaches. It doesn't have to be a crazy amount. But if you see somebody, you should be able to introduce yourself. And there's simple processes. Progressive desensitization, learning how to do that in a respectful way, not in a weird, manipulative way, not as a tactic, not gimmicky. But you see somebody and you want to introduce yourself. Let me ask you this. If you already have children, or if you want to have children at some point, or even if you don't, what kind of a role model do you want to be? But let's assume you want to have children, or you have children someday. And let's assume you have a son. Don't you want to be able to teach your son how to meet women? Don't you want to be a role model? Don't you want to shape generations to come? Let me tell you something. Developing the skill set of meeting women in real life is not only going to boost your productivity, because you get the winner effect, it boosts your testosterone, it boosts your dopamine, but it's going to shape generations to come, because it's a skill set that 99% of men don't have. 99% of men do not have the ability to meet women and just introduce himself, get a number, schedule a date, create intimacy, make a relationship happen. It's absolutely unfathomable. For now, I met like that. I met her in a pub in Ireland that turns into a bar, club kind of thing at 10:30-ish, and you don't ever have to go to bars or clubs. You don't have to go to bars and clubs. You can just theoretically use online dating. You can just learn to meet women during the day. But it's a fun place, and I recommend at least trying it out every once in a while. And I met her. It's a funny story. I've explained it several times, but I'm just going to go into it here, just for the sake of it. I walking through this bar, pub in Ireland that was playing saxophone, nightclub music at that time. And I see her looking at me, or at least I thought she was looking at me. And by the way, don't ever wait for women to look at you, right? I've met a lot of women, and most of them haven't looked at me. Most of them weren't even aware of my existence. People say, wait for her to look at you. No, you're always going to be respectful. The second she's uncomfortable, you're going to leave the interaction. But you cannot wait for her to give you eye contact, because she simply may not be aware of your existence. But if she looks at you, it's the easiest thing in the whole world, and you got to walk over there and you got to let her know that you're intimately interested in her as a woman. And then she can decide how long the conversation goes. So I thought she was looking at me, so I walk over to her and I say, excuse me, if you keep looking at me like that, you're going to make me feel like a piece of meat. How dare you? And then the conversation continued, and there's a bit more to the story that I'm not going to go into today. But it turned out she wasn't actually looking at me. I found that out a year later, by the way. I was with a friend of mine, with Jonathan, for those of you who know, salsa and a bachata teacher, and one of my best friends. He has long, flowing black hair. He looks like brown Jesus. And it turns out she was looking at his hair. So I walked over there and I thought she looked at me, and she was actually looking at him. And I said to her jokingly, well, you could have ended up with Jonathan. No, I wouldn't have. I was like, yeah, you never know. You never know. And then things evolved from there. If I hadn't developed the skill set to be able to approach women whenever I feel like that, if I hadn't overcome my anxiety, I wouldn't have been able to pull that off in a moment. To think that you're going to be able to do a spontaneous approach in a Whole Foods when you might see your future wife is ridiculous if you haven't gone through a process of developing the skill set. You will not be able to pull it off spontaneously unless your state happens to be so hyped for some external reason. And look, you don't want to rely on alcohol or cocaine, do you? You're not a pussy, are you? You should really reduce the amount of alcohol you consume. Seriously, look up Daniel Amen on Google. I really recommend you do that after this video. Check out Daniel Amen. He's a neuroscientist. I heard him say he scanned, I'm not sure if it was 23,000 or 230,000. He has done an obnoxious amount, I think it may have been 230,000, him and his company, brain scans. And there's pictures on Google, I'm not sure how many of them are directly from his website, but there's pictures he's shown on his TED Talk and in other sources of brains after a significant amount of alcohol consumption. Your brain suffers tremendously. You can quite literally see the holes in your brain from an overconsumption of alcohol or weed or even cocaine. Now, in fairness, I'm not sure if cocaine eats the holes into the brain just as much. But if you drink alcohol more than once a month, you have needs that aren't being met. Let me say that again. It's not that you're a pussy, because that's a very oversimplified explanation. But if you drink alcohol more than 1 day a month, 1 or 2, 3 glasses, and it's not a special occasion, then you have needs that aren't being met. The need for variety, the need for love and connection, the need for certainty. You like this warm, fuzzy feeling. Yeah, because when you consume alcohol, your dopamine goes up. Boom! But what happens the next day? It crashes. You should really reduce your alcohol consumption, especially if we even just talk in terms of effectiveness. Effectiveness not just in terms of your performance later on that night, but also during the date. Your calibration decreases. Your confidence may go up in the beginning, but your calibration decreases. You will miss the women or the woman that you really want to be with eventually. You'll miss out on long-term relationships if you have to rely on alcohol. How are you supposed to be in a relationship on eye level where you communicate your needs, your expectations, your boundaries, if the only way you were able to attract her in the beginning was through alcohol? You don't want to rely on that. You want to be able to create confidence wherever you are. And confidence comes from a couple of different sources. One, mindset, but then it's obviously competence, knowing what you need to do, how to move the interaction forward. And it also comes from understanding that you need to master your mental and emotional state, your physiology, your language patterns, your focus. Yes, alcohol makes you more confident because it reduces fear in the moment. Jordan Peterson, I believe he said, alcohol doesn't make you less aware of the consequences. You just don't care anymore in the moment. That's why people do all kinds of stupid shit when they're drunk. And I would encourage you to level up. And if you want me to help you with that personally, if you want to learn how to create the confidence necessary to meet any woman, wherever you want, to be able to find, attract, and keep that amazing dream partner of yours, somebody that you can really have a family with, share life's most precious moments with, that last missing piece of the puzzle, then apply for a free initial consultation call. During that call, we're going to look at your individual situation. We're going to see, what are you already doing well? What are you not doing so well? And I'm looking forward to having a conversation and shooting you to the moon. Look, I've done this now with men from almost 30 different countries. And it's genuinely a passion that I have. I really care about it. And my energy is a little bit lower today, as you may have realized, because I'm having half a fever and I'm a little bit sick and my nose is half blocked as well. Nonetheless, I still wanted to make that video here today. It's genuinely something I care about because I know the freedom that it brings. The freedom that you'll be able to experience even when you're in the relationship, knowing that you've chosen your wife, girlfriend, life partner out of a variety of options because you know how to create them, be that with online or real life, is unparalleled. Most men in relationships are so afraid of losing the other person. And I had it too. With my ex-wife, I was so deathly afraid of losing her. And it manifested in a whole lot of uncomfortable ways. I had a lot of anxiety and stress because I married her because I didn't want to lose her. I had so much fear in my body that drove me to make the wrong decision. Fear drives us to make the wrong decision. Come from abundance. Yes, there's scarcity, but you have to understand that if anything were to ever go wrong, there's so many beautiful people in this world. You're going to be able to replace her. Anybody can be replaced. Anybody can be replaced. Now you might say, well, what about my mother? Not the individual, of course, but the function that person was fulfilling in your life, which was to meet your psychological needs, primarily the one for love and connection. You want to choose the person out of abundance and feel free and joyful and not anxious because you simply haven't made a decision to develop a skill set. Take some action. Wish you all the best. Speak soon.